So let's just recap what we're doing here. This is an open mic, and the idea is to share your comments and frustrations, if possible, and to share these thoughts to change them into a little bit of positivity and shared wisdom, if you can. I've shared earlier my views on client and agency side. So let's see what you guys have to say. And Omar, you're back, and I think I can allow you to speak finally. Where are you now? You're disconnecting when I said yes, you're on. But at least I know the system is working. So until we have Omar back, let me share another thought. If we're talking practices per se, I want to focus on trade marketing because I do a lot of work on retail and category management and so forth. And one of the things I've noticed is that in a lot of cases we have this, in the meeting room between marketing and sales and the big guys, and you're launching something in the trade, and you have this fantastic promotion idea. So the concept is fantastic. The brand can hold it. People will like it. Trade is excited about it. But it then comes down to the execution. I think in a lot of cases that word excellence in execution does not really, show in any document in most companies, particularly fast moving consumer goods, whereby you actually need to show your product, where is it displayed, and so forth. I mean, having worked in confectionery for 9 years when I was in Mondelez and different countries, I have to say I've seen the differences between the execution of let's say Russia. So the meticulousness of where does that display is it clean or not? Is it the replenishment? You start with a planogram design, and then you end up with very strange things over a period of 6 weeks of that promotion, or maybe less, maybe more, depends on the period of the promotion. So that is definitely one of the killers. In one of the workshops I had, which is winning in store, I ran that for 3 years in Egypt between I think 16 and 19. All the multinationals and the big ones had it, and it was great to see the impact in all modern trade and the executions. But I think today maybe things are lagging while modern trade is growing, but there is not that eye for finesse, for perfection, for that round of that merchandiser or trade marketing managers that would go and screen the shops. They would do that, to be honest, when the regional head guy is coming to visit, the president. You know all the drill. I mean, if you've been working in fast-moving consumer goods, you know exactly what I'm doing when you send somebody to the stores, and you know exactly what is the routing of the visit, and you make things perfect. But bigger picture, this is not good. This is not a fancy display thing. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Red Bull. I think it was yes, Red Bull. They had a display, and I think it's an international execution, where they had a part is a fridge where say consume now, and then part is the shelf, and this is for later. This is a very strategic type of display, because it's things of consumption. Yes, I want to buy now, but I also want to buy later. So frequency of consumption and remembering the brand and so forth. So it plays both on the brand saliency, which you have built at home, but also on the shopper when he goes in store and wants to buy, and maybe you want to stock later. So this whole business of display is a huge cost. It is at the point of sale and consumption and the moment of truth when the shopper is actually picking up your product. But I see a lot of slackness in it, and that is not good practice. So to me, when somebody comes tells me, we've done this amazing campaign on TV, but then we're not selling, it's part of my job to do these diagnostics, and usually this is a very, very bad practice. So I'm vending here on this. So, your turn, guys. Raise your hand. Omar. Huh. Unmute yourself, please. Tell me something that is working. I apologize for this, guys. It's just like the Wi-Fi setup. I actually have two suppliers, and I don't know what's going on in the infrastructure here in Egypt for the last week. It's very so. I apologize again for that disconnect, but happily we are back. And Omar, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Just adding to the examples you mentioned regarding the excellence in execution, I have a very short couple of examples. First of all, the one was experienced as a consumer. I think the discontinuity between the marketing, the sales, and the trade marketing, if we can separate it in a separate function. For example, it was one of the bubble gums, and they had an extension of the bubble gum that makes more bubbles and it's more ticky and all that. And they had a huge campaign online and a huge billboard on main streets and ring roads. And then I went down in the stores and I never found it. Either it was not available, be it by supermarkets, hypermarkets, kiosks, convenience store, and the like, or it was simply you know, labeled or point of sale material was placed on the shelves, but the product itself was not there. So there is an example of discontinuity, as you were saying, because the campaign was huge and all the above the line communication was good, and then when you go on the store and you don't find the product, so there's the missing link.
Well, Omar, let me build on that because I had a hands-on example of that. I mean, in like sort of when I started doing this whole retail thing, it's one of the things that I've noticed is that that modern trade has listing fees. So one of the toughest ones are Carrefour's, for example. They have a lot of paperwork, blah blah blah. And I think this was the mega ice cream, the launch a few years back, which was at that time it was still with Nestle, and there was some sort of disconnect internally or externally. I'm not really sure, but they had this huge campaign about male indulgence. I mean, I picked it up because of the space of male indulgence, very misunderstood and underutilized, by the way, which I can do a session on at some point. But it's again, as you exactly said, it was in the traditional trade, which is obvious, of course, elikshek and kiosks and stuff, because it's made for ice cream. But at the same time, you would not find it in modern trade, and a big part of the value of that TV campaign and billboards was lost just because of that. So it does happen. I do agree with you. And it's one of the things that I put in my winning in store is that connection between the marketing guys and the sales guys. And therefore, that term trade marketing should be really shopper marketing because he is or she is that link between those two. But sadly, as you mentioned, happens a lot that there is disconnect and it's lost business.
Well, that's 100% true. I mean, as you mentioned, the modern trade is growing actually, and it's getting a huge bulk of the sales and route to market attention of the companies, and yet there is no excellence and there's a lot of discontinuity in that part. And which brings me back to my second point, mentioning the merchandising and the placement and the replenishment and its connection to the excellence in store. From my point of view, since I worked on both ends of the coin, I worked as trade marketing and I worked as a sales account manager actually, and or model trade channel manager per se. You get a lot of heat coming from the retailers because they flex their muscles on how they are giving you the space and the rental and how big the names are, be it big chains like Carrefour or other chains, for example. I mean, most of them act the same way. They flex their muscles on how big they are as hypermarkets or supermarkets, and they sometimes use your merchandisers to work on other brands, and they don't really pay attention to the shelf share and the number of faces and the planogram. As long as they just leave the war on the ground for the companies to whoever wins quickly and praises their shelf share. Some of them respect that, but unfortunately, most of them don't. And you find yourself at the end that the contract or the number of faces and the shelf share that you agreed on is not actually applied. So instead of focusing on the bigger, more strategic points like category management or introducing new products or becoming a more shopper friendly or attentive to shopper insights, you find yourself fighting for the basics, which are shelf share, number of faces, planogram management. and basically handling the day-to-day and on-ground work. So I think there's the professionalism, to sum it up, or the cooperation of the retailers that's missing, and makes it harder for the trade marketing managers and the shopper marketers to handle.
Sure, absolutely. I hear you on that. And again, if I'm comparing Egypt to other markets I've worked in and zoomed in retailers, strategically, retailers here in Egypt look only at the money, show me the money kind of thing. There are a lot of bad examples of category management, for example, which should be a win-win situation for everybody. A shopper would find their SKU, the basket would grow for the brand that is the category leader, and of course, retailers would have a higher turnout. But the thing is, in European markets, and I was recently in Vienna and put in a lot of insights shared on my YouTube channel on Spar and Spar Gourmet, which is the more premium side, how they are growing and on private label specifically. So their vision is really add on a brilliant type of business unit, which is the PL, not really fighting on these basic levels as you have mentioned, because I mean, if I'm thinking Egypt is going backwards in that respect, I've also seen some of the good examples in Saudi and UAE of chains, whether they're local, trying to upgrade themselves with the best practice. And this is really one of the things that really pisses me off, to be honest. There's a lot of, basic kind of rules in the shopper and retail experience. There's best practices. It's the same thing in e-commerce, for example. One of the channels, sale channels that is booming. But I mean, if you're a latecomer like in Egypt, why are you reinventing the wheel? There are numerous learnings around how you design your landing page, how do you photo shoot your product, what type of narrative you want to have there as a brand. But it's just, one other little frustration. I mean, I know probably you and other practitioners have, feel the level of frustration more than I do. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm currently the consultants, or, I view stores and, write my, hot, flashy kind of post, criticizing everybody. But, I mean well. But for you, it's part of parcels of your daily job, and you need to deliver. So thank you so much, Omar, for sharing those two thoughts. Really appreciate it. So anybody
My
else
pleasure,
want to
Samir. Thank you.
share? Thank you, Omar. Anybody wants to share? Okay, babe. Hello, go ahead. You're the inspiration for this session. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Dalia. Is my voice clear?
Yes. Go ahead.
How are you doing? It's interesting seeing everybody in their profile photos in like suits and very serious, you know. Hi, everyone. I spoke a few times on Clubhouse, and the vibe is different. Also about marketing and brand building, etc. I want to say hi to Amr as well. Okay, I have like 50 things I want to rant about, Dalia. Is that okay? Or
Okay, I'm going to. I mean, if I repeat this session, I mean, it's the first time I do this open mic thing, so I'll see what the feedback is. But if I repeat it, then probably I can give you like five each session. The rest you can send me on WhatsApp, and we can discuss it later.
cool. No, I was joking. It's less than 50, I promise. Um, okay, I can say that a lot of pet peeves, obviously, that are irritating on practices that businesses take, on practices that marketing managers take. I've definitely am one of them. I made a lot of mistakes in my career on relationships between us as brand managers and stakeholders. Each, I think, function we can have an episode and, rants about how we deal with the creative agencies, how we deal with sales, how we deal with finance. Um, so I think that rant topic is really interesting. But today maybe I could say uh, one of the things that are very annoying is the digital infatuation that us, as marketers have become obsessed with digital, neglecting a the long term necessity of strategic brand building, and b the importance of other marketing mediums and traditional media. I don't think that digital is a reality, social media is a reality, but I think you mentioned that in one of your episodes before, that the depth that goes into long-term brand building, um, discussions, gathering insights, developing concepts, testing, working with agencies and partners for a month, and then developing a big piece of copy. Definitely that is missed in the digital world. To an extent, for sure. Like, there are some companies who do that quite well, but the majority are obsessed with quick, unthoughtful pieces of content that have very limited impact, and very weak longevity. Number two, how companies, a lot of brands are obsessed with the purpose thing. Um, not every soda drink or a chocolate or a detergent has to fight cancer and save the planet and be obsessed with saving the world. You're just a biscuit. It's fine. You're delicious, and you're a detergent. I buy it to wash clothes, and that's enough. Sometimes, in very, I think, limited cases, there's an excellent fit and an excellent moment and an excellent story, and all of these things work together, and then you have a brilliant team, clever marketers and clever agency who come up with something that works, and that is fine, and they win awards and everything. But the majority of cases, really massive failure, because you cannot manufacture that perfection, and you cannot manufacture that relevancy between you know what I mean, like a soda and feminism. It requires a lot of luck and a lot of intelligence to make it work. Number three, misunderstanding targeting and segmentation is also is a big mistake. That I even hear it a lot in boardrooms. How about millennials? How about Gen Z? It's like everyone who's born between 19, what is millennials, like 1981 or 1982 to 98, is exactly the same human being, the same motivations, the same interests, the same pain points. Yeah, they were just target millennials, and they're all craft beer drinking, avocado toast eating, people that is just it's easy. Uh, that is that is not smart. Um, and you know better than anyone else what is the right way to do it, and I'd love to hear you, Dalia, talk about that in one of your episodes on segmentation, etc. Um, I think, yeah, I have a lot more thoughts, but I don't want this room to get long, as you mentioned. You don't want this recording to take so long, and yeah, let's end it here.
Well,
Thanks so
I
much for the opportunity.
yeah, thanks a lot for the thoughts, and I think it's you know lots of people are going through this. Yeah, and I think on my part, I try to share as much as I can. Next week By the way, the session is on growth targets and how to select them, so customer segmentation. So that would be spot on. I'm going to talk about Lego. I'm going to talk about Cadbury in South Africa, how to actually, select and which are the parameters at each point in time. And I'm talking about brands that are already there and want to grow, not the new ones. So that would be next week. Uh, when you were talking about the sort of some brand managers or brand owners, and I totally get it. They're so proud, and they look under their own feet, but you love your brand, that's very much respected, but you're not selling to yourself. And I recall you mentioned biscuit. I recall, I mean, I worked on gum for many, many years. I launched Trident in North Africa markets. For example, I relaunched chiclets in Egypt. And again, it was, this millennial Gen Z, whatever, we were losing touch with Gen Zs, and we need to do this huge research on teens and whatever. But when we were doing that research, I remember one of the customer. This was a C2 focus group, and we kept very detailist about every little single thing about a gum. But then at the end, and I'm going to say this in Arabic, الست قالت لنا لا مؤاخذة ده البان انتوا قرفتونا يعني. So in reality, I mean, that was very funny, and to me it was like, yeah, we're being very picky about this, even though the details were very important, but literally we were really all about ourselves. And later on, for many, many years now, I mean, this was like 10 years back, I know for a fact that consumers don't think about brands. Literally, it's on the spot, they're automatic. And because of the shopper work I've done, because of the neuro marketing work I do as well, no, they don't lose sleep over you as a brand. They don't think. The thinking point and the emotional part comes when they're using the product and the service. Are you delivering on the claim or not? It's as basic as this. Sorry guys, but this is the truth. Yeah, there is that role for you to influence, to cut the clutter, and goes back to your point about digital marketing. And I recall in that session, which was in season 1 of these audio lives, somebody asked me, can you build a brand totally on digital? I said, yeah, there are ways to do that, but one of the fundamental things is you do actually have a strategy and something to say. And digital is just another way to say it. The fact that you don't have a budget and you just want to focus on that, great. But mind you, it is getting very, very expensive and not the best thing if you're thinking about clutter. Yeah, so our job actually is becoming harder, but I see that people are being lazy, or just more of the same. The image I was using in that session was, this is like fast food versus cooking at home. So digital is very easy because you formulate the message, you just click, it's online, and you're getting views. But even all of this performance marketing, blah, 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 not that I'm, belittling it in any way, but it's just, I think in a lot of departments, people actually don't understand these KPIs. And it goes back to, you need to really thoroughly understand your customer and what triggers them. I've done a lot of work on what's in a word. In fact, I was just thinking yesterday, and maybe because you're only 7 people here, I'll throw this idea. So it's going to be, among the 8 of us. Okay, secret, guys. I'm thinking of doing this free 3 hours. The session would be what's in a word, and literally I'm gonna get 10 to 15 people who will attend for free, and give them 3 case studies whereby the communication, the words made a difference. I want them to understand, I want them to do this exercise themselves, and then these 20 people or whatever would be the advocate and speak up on my behalf, because sometimes I think I'm talking to myself, even though people would actually meet me in the store or in the street and said like, yeah, we follow you, and that insight we actually applied to our work, or on a personal brand level or whatever. And but I want to see more. Maybe you guys can help me. It's just a thought. I'm just, it's in the air, but I have three actually case studies whereby they either use the words very well and it clicked. And this is a science, by the way. This is neuromarketing. We know now how the brain reacts to stimulus. And some of it really screwed it up, and some of it were really good. So I don't know. It's just, write me separately your thoughts if this is something I want to do. I'm just still thinking about it. But, I think what is wrong with this industry is that we don't question practices enough. And I am that type of person, by the way. There are best practices, great, but I know for a fact that if I'm rerunning my winning in store workshop today, for example, I'm going to change at least 40% of the content, because there is progression, and sometimes there are things that I have advocated as best practice, but today, no, there's something new. But then again, is that new better or not? We have to debate, guys. We have to think. We just become very, very lazy. I don't know. It's not for everybody, by the way. It's like innovation. Innovation is not for everybody. You have to be a learning organization to be able to do. And please don't tell me that when you do a flavor extension of, hawashi or shrimp, that is an innovation, because it does not work for me. You gotta have another one. And then you need to uh, um, what shall I say, know what good looks like as an organization and as a brand owner. And if at point in time, if this is not working for you, change it. It's okay. Change is hard, but it's for the better. Try to be engaged in your brand, not just doing it. And whatever you feel about the brand, consumers feel it, your customers, your agencies, anyone in your network. Yeah, and I'm not talking about even consumer brands. I'm talking about your corporate brand, your employer brand. I don't know if you guys have seen my recent post on that PepsiCo energy drink. I have a lot of respect for this company, but I got confused at a bigger level on a brand. So are you doing CSR? Are you doing, but as a campaign, of course, yeah, as a team, they sat in and they said, yeah, one, two, three equal a great sales. They're right. But then again, what is the bigger message versus all that sustainability work and all of the stuff they're doing with potato farmers and so on. So again, working on a brand, particularly if it's big, there are levels of it. So there is the corporate brand, the employer brand, and then you come and screw it up, and then you spend more money on employer branding, for example, because you want to attract talent. So I don't see it as one fit all, and this is probably one of my biggest frustrations, because I work on a higher level with stakeholders, investment, and CEOs. Some of them get it, but most of them don't. And by the way, this is not an Egypt thing, yeah? So do we have any more comments or bills for today, or you want to wrap it up? Yes, Omar?
Hi there again. Hi, Abid. Everyone. I don't want to hug the mic in this session, but since you asked again if there's someone has another thought, I thought of putting my word out there, unless somebody else wants to talk. Just something that I was thinking on the side, next to what we were saying. I think it's the role of the marketing insights and research that people can do prior to launching products or launching campaigns. That's a personal insight of mine, that mostly when companies are launching products now or campaigns, they too much focus on the communication level. They just go ahead and see what looks nice, what attracts people, and what makes fast impact and looks good on social media and TikTok trends and all that, and they just shoot it. So it becomes more communication focused than product or research focused. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but the
Yeah.
homework that they do on the product on the product essence and the four P's and the how do you call it, the promise or the product edge is
Yeah,
getting lower
yeah,
and lower,
I
and
hear
you
you,
can see
Omar.
that in
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, I hear you on that, and I think it goes back to there is no solid brand strategy. Because when you're
Exactly.
launching something, you have to look at all the assets that you have and which ones you want to promote and through which channel and which type of communication. So communication really comes at the end. But I think in a lot of ways, and I don't want to sound aggressive against creative agencies, but they do sell well. I've sit in creative pitches from all the big ones, and not only in Egypt. I've done a lot of work with the Sachis and Ogilvies of the world, and I gotta tell you, they really sell well. And creativity, if it's really good, and you see that concept, the CEO just buys it in and said, yeah, we're gonna not even gonna do research. We're just gonna go to production right away. So yeah, I heard it, but again, it will always be. I mean, in my previous life, kind of corporate life, it would have been my role as a strategy and insights person to pull the plug if it's not working for the strategy. It's that type of person who sits in that meeting and brings everybody back. Oh, guys, this is very creative, fluffy, wonderful. Where as in بيعطيك جوانح على رأي Red Bull. So I'm flying in the sky with this lovely creative, but at the end of the day, let's go back to objective. And the objectives, by the way, if you look at a creative brief, they're very poorly written or not written at all. I had a potential client who, had hunted me, literally chasing me, and then he calls me up, and after a long discussion, thinking that he wants a brand strategy, he said, هو بصي احنا عايزين اعلان لبيومي فؤاد. فانا I literally الحقيقه قفلت السكه في وشه يعني. Okay, I don't sound, I don't want to sound aggressive or whatever, but I had explained to him the process and what we do, and this is the right thing to do. And then he had already in mind what he wants to do. I told him, listen, this is not what I do. I can put you on to a creative agency. So yeah, unfortunately, Omar, and the thing is, if they had done their homework in terms of ROI and what are the objectives, so I want to do increase X in sales, in brand salience, in positioning platform, in kicking ass the competition, and this should be in the brief, and then measurable by ways of brand tracking or health tracking studies or whatever, then absolutely fine. You have that system in place within the company whereby if this is working or not. But I'm sorry, it's not about likes and shares. You could be sharing that because it's a famous star, or كان في إفيه حلو فأنت بتبعته لأصحابك and so on. We all know the drill. But nothing will change unless business people understand that this is a leaky bucket. Yeah, you're spending and you're throwing your money in the trash. And by the way, again, this is not an Egypt thing. I mean, I think recently we've seen a lot of weather campaigns, like Burger King's Rotten Burger campaign, for example. They lost 5% market share. So it is going around, and these guys, know the idea of them. So, Omar, thank you for that build. And guys, any more builds? We have like 7 more minutes to go. So, and do tell me, by the way, if you want me to repeat this open mic. I know it's a slow audience versus my other sessions because I've actually changed the time several times, and then it's a low season because everybody is traveling. So I do understand that, but from a concept perspective, I don't know if you guys want me to repeat that. But again, just a reminder that next week, next Saturday, that would be a session on is changing your target consumer for growth a good thing or a bad thing? We're going to look into what does it take to change your profile of the brand. Is this something good, or how you do it, and so forth. We're looking at some interesting brands from around the world and their results as well. So that would be next week. So any builds, comments? Okay, cool. I think that would be a wrap. Thank you so